business of gambling, they spell jackpot, M-A-C-A-U. That stands for Macau, the Chinese island territory that's become the world's largest gambling market. Macau's casinos raked in $3.75 billion in October alone, the third straight month of record gambling revenue. Las Vegas Sands is doubling down on Macau, expanding the world's largest casino and planning an IPO for its business on the island. Joining us now to discuss how Las Vegas Sands stacks up against the competition in Macau is Research Edge's gaming analyst, Todd Jordan. Todd, very glad to have you here.
Good to be here, Thanks.
Let's talk about the IPO, $5.5 billion. It is due to price later this week. The money raised here, or at least a good chunk of it, right, is to go and get the Venetian Macau, the world's largest casino, back on track after the funding dried up in the wake of the credit crisis. Tell us how this deal compares with Wynn Macau, which priced early last month.
Sure. Well, there's probably more similarities than differences. They're both IPOing a portion of their Macau operations. Valuations are similar, although I think Wynn is at a premium to the Sands China, which is probably appropriate given Wynn's history, his returns in the past on new investment, and his relationship with the government.
How about the properties themselves? Venetian, obviously, it has to be massive. What is it, 13.3 million square feet?
Yeah, something like that. Now, that's on the Cotai Strip. It's more of a mass property, meaning it appeals to less the junket type operation, but more the direct marketing player. Wynn has a combination of both, but Wynn has a much bigger VIP or junket business than does the Venetian Macau.
Speaking of Wynn, we're flashing up a photograph of Steve Wynn on the screen right now. Let's talk about the personalities involved here. Why one may be more of a savvy investor or not, perhaps, than the other. Steve Wynn versus Sheldon Adelson. Who do you bet on?
Well, look, I think Steve Wynn has done everything perfectly right in Macau since the inception. His relationship with the government and with Beijing, which is also an important variable in this equation, has been impeccable. I think Sheldon had a rocky start, has had some ups and downs with the government, and that is one of the risk factors in investing in Sands China, is that we don't know where the relationship is right now. We think it's better.
What about the actual properties themselves? What are the personalities of the properties? What kind of people are they hoping to attract, or it doesn't matter? I mean, is there...
Well, yeah, that's a good question, too. If you look at Wynn, it's a much more intimate property. He has a better relationship with the higher-end customers. Venetian is just a massive, as you pointed out, Eric, just a massive property, and he's building two more massive properties out on the Cotai Strip, which is a little different than operating in the peninsula where Wynn is.
I've read that even though this is a very large IPO, it's going to be the second biggest in Hong Kong this year. Some of the money is going back to Las Vegas Sands, and of the rest of the proceeds, plus some financing that they just secured, it's not going to be enough to finish the Venetian. So does that suggest there's perhaps even more risk here than you might factor in with just the Sheldon Adelson versus Steve Wynn dichotomy?
Well, I think development is always a risk anyways, and he's spending Sheldon spending $4 billion on lots 5 and 6, which is near the Venetian. And yes, some money is going back to the U.S., but that's really going to shore up the balance sheet here in the U.S. of the parent company, LVS. So I think it's a good deal for LVS and for potential investors in Sands China if they get it towards the lower end of the range.
Is it going to be the saving deal, as it were, for Sheldon Adelson? It's not like the man doesn't remain wealthy, but my God, you go back to 2008, and this company almost went bankrupt.
Yeah, well, actually, I would say early 2009 almost went bankrupt, but they've done a great job. The performance of the Macau market helped. That business bounced back very quickly, but they did a lot of things on the financing side with an equity raise, some debt raise that got them shoring up their financial position, and I think this is just the the end result of that work.
Let's think of it in broader terms. Is this effectively a bet on China? And if it is, whether you choose Las Vegas Sands or Wynn Macau, long-term, is it a no-lose proposition?
Well, there's a lot of risks. It is a roller coaster, but I'm very bullish on Macau long-term. It's the only market in the entire world, gaming market, that actually has excess demand. The government has to keep people out to stop them from gambling too much. That means you're going to have long-term, somewhat predictable, and I would say almost permanent growth. We can't find that anywhere else in the world in gaming.
All right, clearly a whole lot more than a riverboat casino down in Biloxi.
Yes, sir.
Todd, thank you very much. That's Todd Jordan of Research Edge joining us to talk about Las Vegas Sands, Sheldon Adelson, and Steve Wynn.